So now in this sessions, we are going to talk about the defect reporting, right? How you are going to uh, report the bug, what you are finding, right? So in test phase, in SDLC, we have seen, analyze the requirement and understand the application, right? Start creating a test scenarios and test cases. Then next step is execution. That's what we have seen in a last session, right? How we are going to execute the session. Execution means we have to compare that expected result and actual result. So we'll be writing in everything we have already written in a test case document. So in test case document, we have one of the column expected and actual, right? So we need to compare that what is expected and what is actual. Actual means suppose in a login functionality, I'll open a login page maybe. So if I go to that login page, so my expected is if I go with that valid username and valid password, if I'm clicking on a login, it should navigate to the home page or dashboard page. But that's what, expected one. If suppose it is not navigating, suppose this login button is not enabled, in such cases, we are going to raise the defect, right? So actual result is, uh, not equal to the expected result. So expected result, we see what we have to do. It's fine clicking on a login. It should navigate to the home page or dashboard page. But it is not navigating. Suppose it's not clicking that login button, right? So that is not an expected one. So we are going to raise a defect. Okay, so suppose if now login button is not working, right? Whether if I'm clicking on a login, it is not navigate to the home page. Right, that is what we are going to raise a defect now. So now, in this case, what we are going to do, we need to, how we have seen in a test case creation, we have some of the field. The same way in having creating a bug reporting also, we have some of the field is there. So you need to fill everything one by one. There will be in some of the things we need to suppose what we have to do. The first thing, what we need to mention over here is defect ID. So defect ID means we have to add a first defect ID. So what is the defect ID? Suppose if you are using any of the reporting bug reporting tool, bug management tool like Bugzilla or ALM or Jira, if you are uploading the defect, right, so automatically it will generate one of the ID. So that ID we need to add it in your defect report. Okay, so that is the defect ID you need to mention. Then what we have to mention, then reporter name. Suppose reporter name, who is going to report that? Name of the one who found that defect. Usually tester only will going to find the defect. Sometime it may be developer or sometime if it is in UAT also they are going to find the defect. So you have to mention who is that finding the defect. So the reporter name you have to mention over here. This is the one of the field. Then the next thing will be defect reporter date. So we need to mention defect reported date we need to mention. So what date would maybe if it is today's date, as per the date we need to mention when you are identify the defect. So defect reported date we need to mention. Next thing is who is detected. Who is detected means here we have mentioned that name. Here we have to mention who detected. So suppose I mean we have to mention the designation like the name who found the defect. Suppose it's a QA or if it is a developer or if it is a business analyst or the UAT guys, right? Or if it is the client side. So who detected the defect? So you need to mention over here in the who is detected, right? So in which designation they are. So that's what we need to mention over here. Then we have a how we are detecting the defect. How defected? Maybe if it is in a testing, we have a different stages are there. In testing also, we could able to find the defect. Suppose in review that, right? When you are reviewing that, analyzing the recommend document or some other documents also, they are going to identify the defect. So how we are detecting the defect? So now we need to mention one. Maybe it's a testing, maybe it's a review time, maybe it's a walkthrough time. When we are identify the defect, that's what we need to mention over here in the how detected. See the field which I am mentioning over here, it's commonly used on any of the organization, but it may vary to the company to company. So, if you are in your company, what is the template they are using? That's what you are going to follow up. But in interview point of view, you can mention all the things. This is what, defect report. So why we are using this? This all everything we need to fill it up. So how to detect that? The next thing will be, we can mention the project name. Right, so project name may be suppose, for example, in a banking, like ICICI, HDFC, or a SBA, or suppose if it is working in a e-commerce like retail domain like Amazon, Flipkart, right? So that is what project. So when which project you are working, so the project name you have to mention over here. Right. So the next thing is release build. So release, or you can say build version. So meaning that we have a different build they are going to release. Like, there will be some versions would be there. Maybe it's a 1.1, next version it will be, they make it as a 1.2, then 1.3, 1.4, 2.1, 2.2. So the version name, in which version you are testing now, in which version you are identify the defect. So that's also you need to mention over here. That is release, or you can make it as a build version you need to mention. This is one of the field you have to mention over there. So then only they come to know, the developer while checking the defect. Okay, they are finding the defect in this field. Then in this project, then which release they are identify the defect. So everything they comes to know, then only they could able to identify the root cause of the defect. Right. So that's the reason we have to mention everything over here. Right. Then what is that next thing is? So this is defect, or we have to make it as a enhancement. Sometime if you are working in a testing part, maybe you will be finding the defect. Suppose in a UAT time, they will be telling like some functionality changes, so that some things they wants to add some new features. So that will be coming into that enhancement, right? If you are identify that if it is expected and actually we are checking, right? If it is mismatch, then we are saying like okay, this is a defect. But sometime it will be enhancement as well. Enhancement means suppose they want the changes, right? Suppose if I'm clicking on a login page, it's navigate to the some particular home page. Home page, I don't want to display these things. I don't want the some menu bar. Maybe I want some other things. So those things comes under the enhancement. So now I need to mention whether this is we are creating a defect over here. That is a defect or enhancement. We need to mention over here. Right, add whether there is a defect or an improvement. Right. So then main thing is we need to mention environment. So environment means something like which operating system you are using, how you are identify the defect, right? So which OS you are using, which browser you are using, right? Any other related to that particular testing part we need to mention. Suppose in in remote you are working or some other things, you need to mention over here. Right, which OS you are using, why you are identify the defect, how you are identify the defects, right? Which browser you are using, maybe if it is a Chrome, maybe if it is a IE, or different browser in your applications, we need to test in different browser. Then we need to mention over here. So this OS I am using, this is the browser I am using, I am finding that this is the defect. So environment also it's very important things we need to mention over here. So there is no environment related over there that is common for everything means, so no need to mention over here. So but if it is in a different environment you are working, then you need to mention your environment over here, right? So other thing is we need to mention that priority. So priority means something like we have to say it's a high priority, or we can say low priority, right? So we can say medium, or we can say low priority. So that is any what is the priority of this one defect, then we need to mention over here. This is the priority. Then next tag will be we need to go with the severity. So severity will be the same thing. So it is something like critical. So if it is a critical, or we can say it is a high, then we can say it is a medium, or we can say low. Okay, so this is what, priority we have to mention, or severity also we have to mention. Then we need to say the status. Status will be something like, when you are creating finding the bug, right? If you just found and posting it in, then it will be in a new status only. The status of bug will be may change, right? But initially, if you are finding the bug, the status will be new, right? Already we have studied that, different status of the bug reporting as well. I'll show you one more time, maybe in a bug life cycle. So we have seen in a bug life cycle different stages, right? When your defect is logged in, right? That I mean, if you are posted that, then it will be coming into the new status only, right? So in your if you are using a different defect tracking tool, maybe you come to know that. So it will be new status only. So after that, we are assigned that after tester has posted the bug, the lead of the tester approve the bug is genuine. I mean, if the bug is genuine or if it is you are not understanding that functionality, then if you that is what they are going to mention over here. So bug is, if it is a genuine, then he is assigned the bug to the corresponding developer and the developer team, right? It is the state of assigned over here, right? The next status will be open. I hope you could able to view my screen. Okay. So now the initially it is a new, then after that they are checking that, I mean, your lead will going to find that, which is the defect is, genuine defect or, you are not understanding the defect. So they will be going to check it over here. Okay, this is the defect means they'll be going to assign to the corresponding developer, right? So, and the development team. So now the status will be assigned. So after that, the state of the developer has started analyzing and working on the defect. That time the status will be open. If they are opening and they are working on that, then the status will be open. Then after that, when the developer makes all the code changes, whatever the needed changes they will be making, right? After that, they are going to verify that okay, it's working fine. Then they are going to make it as a fixed, right? So once it is fixed, they are going to, we are receiving the mail. Okay, they are fixed. Make it as a fixing. So now we are going to test them. Right, so we have to, what we have to do, we need to retest. So we need to retest that, after fixing the defect, the developer has given the particular code for retesting to the tester. Here the testing is pending on the tester end, hence its status is pending retest only. Right, so otherwise we are going to retest. Right, so now pending retest maybe, I mean, it's not, usually we are not going to use, directly we'll go for a retest. So then next will be after retesting, if we are verifying it, the tester, the bug again after it got fixed by the developer, if the bug is not present in the software, I mean in the application, then what we have to do? We are going to say, okay, verified. Right? If you are retesting, then if it is not working properly again, then what we are going to do? We are make it as a status of reopened. Again, it will go to assign and it is going to the open fixed role. The same, status it will going to repeat. Here, the developer opening, right? So that time what happened? There will be different status, right? So if they are opening the defect, then they make it as a duplicate as well. Suppose the same defect already is there in some other defect, then they'll be make it as a duplicate. Sometime, they'll be rejected because it's not working. Maybe it's not reproducible, something like that, they may reject the defect, right? If it is not a bug, if you are not understanding the functionality, maybe they can say, okay, this is not a bug. So that time it will going to check in, make it as a not a bug. Then deferred status, deferred means, okay, they are accepted that, okay, this is a bug, but here in this, sprint, we don't have any time to fix that. I mean, times concerned, they are going to make it as a deferred. Deferred means it will going to release in a next sprint. They are going to make it as a fixing next sprint or future release only. That's what, they are going to deferred status. So this is what completely different status over here. Right, so I will share you this document. Maybe if you want, you can refer. So now let's move on to this one. So now initially we are finding the defect. So now we need to mention the status of the defect. So now initially it is a new. Maybe, after some time it is assigned or open fix something. the status may change till the close. So now initially it is a status is new only. After that we need to mention the important thing, description. So what is the defect description? We need to add a detailed description over here. Right? Then detailed description means what are the defects. So we need to mention. Next thing will be steps to reproduce. So what is the meaning of steps to reproduce? Suppose if you are working on this application. Now if I'm clicking on a login, maybe it's not working. So you need to tell them, okay, I'm using this URL. I'm coming into this page, entering the username. This is the username I'm using. I'm using this password. If I'm clicking on that login, then it is not working. It's not navigate to the exact page. So I need to write each and every step, what we have done. Right? Till that, till the result, right? So till that, we need to enter the steps. So that is what steps to reproduce. The same order they will going to try and they'll going to identify why it's not working. So that is the reason steps to reproduce is very, very important things in the bug report. You need to mention your steps to reproduce. How we are going to identify the defect. Right? So here in login page, right? So this is simple 2 step or 3 step. Suppose in some of the applications, some of the flow, maybe it's going to, till 10 steps or 10 steps as well. So that will, you need to mention each and every steps you need to mention over here in the steps to reproduce tab. Right? Then you need to mention that URL. So URL means, suppose, different URL you may use. Suppose, you may use that like a stage URL, maybe production URL, maybe it's a like sandbox URL, different URL will be there. So you need to mention which URL you are using. Right? So which server URL you are using. So you need to mention over here. Then we need to say expected result. So what is that expected result? So my case is in this login functionality. What is my expected? If I am clicking on a login button, it should navigate to the dashboard page. Right? So now that is what my expected one. What is actually it is happening? If I am clicking login, it's not navigate. Okay, this is just and just simply for an example I'm telling. Here it's working fine in this application. So now this is what you need to mention over here in an expected result. Then the next thing is actual result. So actual result, what happened? When you are working on that application, what happened? It's not navigate to the page. So that is what you need to mention over here in an actual result. Then we need to add screenshot. So this is the way we need to prepare your document. Bug reporting document you need to prepare. So everything is very, very important. Suppose in your company, what are the template they are using? The same order you can go with. Right? So till the screenshot, I mean the state, description and the steps to reproduce, URL, expected result, actual result, screenshot, this is common for all the things. I mean, all the, whichever you go to that organization, this will be in common. Even if you are using any management tool also, I mean, bug management tool, then there will be description you need to mention, steps to reproduce, then what are the environment or URL, expected, actual and screenshot you need to mention. This the thing is very, very important. And remaining things also we need to mention over here in a different document. That is as per the company, that the template may vary a little bit. Right? So this is the way you need to prepare. So what I'll do, I will go and prepare that. Okay, this is a, maybe I can make it as a, so I'll be, so now what I'll do, I will go to, first thing is defect ID. So what is the defect ID? When you are arising a defect in your defect management tool, you will be getting, by default it is going to generate. So you have to mention over here, maybe some number it will come. So you have to mention your defect ID. So it is automatically it is going to generate randomly. So that number you need to mention. This is your defect ID. Now the next thing is reporter name. So you can mention your reporter name. So maybe your name or who is identify the defect. So you need to mention the name. Then defect reported date. So we need to mention the date over here. So usually we have to go with that month, day and year only. So now as per that your company how they are following, you have to go with. Suppose if I am using this one, then you can mention something like this one. Right? So now I'll make it as well. Right, so now this is a date we have mentioned. Then who defected? Who detected that? So now, we need to mention tested or, who is detected that. So maybe I'm saying this is a tester or we can say developer or you can say something like, UAT guys. Right, so you have to mention who is detected. I mean the designations you need to mention. Right, how they are detected. Right, this is, see, maybe it's may Mary, like we have to find that who is how detected. Maybe it's in a testing time, or maybe it is in a review time, maybe it is in a walkthrough, maybe if it is in a UAT time. So we need to mention that, right? So that's what we have to go with. Now I'll show you here, how detected when I'm saying testing. So now I'm identify the defect from the testing only. Then we need to mention that project name. So project name will be, you can say any of your project name. So maybe it's a ABCD. Or you can say project name and completely you can make it as a module name as well. Maybe it's a login, something like that you can mention. Right? So now we'll coming into that next thing is after that we need to say release version, right? Release or you can say build version. So now build version, maybe it will be 1.3, right? Or 1.4. Maybe as per your release version, you have to mention your version as well, right? Then we can say it is a defect or enhancement. Defect or enhancement. So what is the detect? What is the defect? What is the enhancement? I hope you know that. I mean, this is a change request, right? So when you are reviewing, so they are asking like, this functionality is, we don't want the functionality something in this way, we want in different way. Otherwise, they are adding some other functionality. That is what enhancement. While reviewing, if they are asking like something, then you can make it as a defect or enhancement. Then I can say defect over here, right? So you can mention if it is a defect, then you can mention the defect. Otherwise, you can mention the enhancement, right? So maybe it will be in a one of the tabular column. You need to fill everything. So now I'm just for an example, I'm adding something like this way. But in tabular column, you have to defect ID will be there. You need to mention reporter name, date, and who detected, how detected. So it will be in the tabular column only. Right, something table will be there. So you need to mention over there. So the template, you no need to worry about it. Whatever the template using in the organization, they are going to provide you the same thing you need to mention. You have to understand that in which of the tab, what are the things we need to mention. Right. So fine. The next thing is what we have to say, we need to go with the environment. So environment will be, maybe it's which environment you are using. Maybe it is a Chrome version I'm using, or you can say maybe in OS I'm using at Windows, Windows 11, right? Something you can mention over here, right? So, and Chrome version also maybe you can mention, right? Chrome something like, 111 something coming, right? New release. So you can mention that Chrome version as well, right? So which things you need to. So now the next thing is what we have to mention, priority. So priority will be something like what priority it will be. Maybe it is a high, maybe if it is a low, something like that. So I can say if it is a medium means, then you have to mention medium. Then we have a severity. So severity will be, maybe if it is a high. Right, so you need to mention that priority and severity. Priority and severity we have seen, right? So priority, priority indicates that how soon the bug should be fixed. Right, severity means it indicates the seriousness of the defect, right, on the particular functionality or particular product. So now we'll coming into that next thing is after severity, then we need to mention that status. Status of the defect, then it will be now initially it is a new status only. Then what we have to do, we need to go to the description. So description will be something like, while clicking on login, while clicking on a login button, right? So now it is not navigate to home page. So this is what your description. So description should be, you have to mention in clear way. Right. So while clicking on a login button, it is not navigate to home page. This is what your defect. Right. Then we need to mention steps to reproduce. So how you have to mention the steps to reproduce? So navigate to login page. So now you can mention whether if you are using a different URL, already we are mentioning that URL. So okay, here you need to mention a URL. So you need to mention URL as well over here. Right. So before that, navigate to login page. Then what we have done, we enter the username, right, and password. Then step 3, click on login button. So this is what I have done, right? So now you can mention your URL, right? So URL will be maybe if it is a stage URL, or you can say production URL. So whatever the URL you are using, or you can go with that, right? Maybe it's a sandbox. So different URL is there. So in testing purpose, what are the URL you are using? Then you have to mention over here. Right. So now the next thing is what is the expected result? So expected result will be while clicking on a login, right? While clicking on a login, it should navigate to home page. This is what my expected one. So what happened in actual one? So you need to say actual result. You can mention the same thing. So while clicking on a login button, it is not navigate to home page. This is what actually it is happening. Maybe it is throwing an error message, or it is not clicking, whatever it is, you have to mention. Right, then finally what we have to do, we need to go with the screenshot. So screenshot you need to attach. So screenshot will be something like, this application. So where it is, in this application, you take a screenshot. Then you go to just paste it. If you want to crop, then you can crop it. You need to mention that. Then you can mention if you want to, show something like, whatever you have written, maybe if it is username field is not working, something like that. If you want to highlight something, you can go and highlight in this way. You can go and highlight. I think it's a no fill. Go to red color. You can make it as a different thing. So this is the way you need to, if you want. See here, no need to highlight. Simply I'm saying whether you need to highlight something, you have to go over here and you can highlight in this way. So just go to that insert. You'll be getting the shapes, right? So you can select any of the shapes. Then you just go in this way. So this is the way you can highlight over here, right? In a screenshot. So this is what, defect report you need to send it to your development team. So they comes to know, okay, what we have done. So they are not going to command each and everything. Okay, which browser you are using, what are the steps you are using. So everything we need to mention. So then only they could able to identify the root cause of the defect and they're going to fix the defect. Right? So this is the way we need to prepare. Is that clear? Any questions? So I'll send you this document as well for you. So I'll send you this document. Okay, then I'll send you this PPT as well, like bug life cycle as well. So you can refer for your reference. But please make sure that everyone, different companies having a different template only. Right? Each company having a different template, they are going to use their own template only. Right? So we need to attach this document to your while creating a defect in your bug reporting tool, right? So different tools, different companies using. Bugzilla is there, Jira is there, ALM is there. So while uploading this, then we need to send this document as well. You need to attach over them. So they comes to know, okay, what they have done. Okay.